Real talk, real impact, unfiltered and unapologetic. This is FemmeIcon.
Hello, everybody. Assalamu alaikum. This is Mavi Shakhter, and I'm here with another episode of FemmeIcon. So, hello to those of you who have joined us. We're talking about identity crisis in your 20s and 30s. So, you guys know something quite interesting about that is, first of all, let me apologize for the delay. Believe it or not, I want to chalk it up to not being able to adult. Interesting, right? Yeah, I'm 50. Will be in 2026. And yeah, that's what I say. I can't adult. Oh my God, my brain is just not doing it. It's not working, right? It's just not there yet. How do people do this? How do people act like adults? How does it happen? Right? That's what we say. It's so hard to do all of these things. It's so hard to be an adult. And then we mesh all of that with having an identity crisis, like not knowing who we are, not knowing how to become a fully grown, functioning adult, what our responsibilities are, what our duties are. Responsibilities and duties are different things. We will go over it, what our role is, what are, all of these things. And I shouldn't be saying it or acting it even at my age. I should know it. I should know who I am and what my role is in the society, what my role is at home with my family, with my friends. But what happens is, and I'm joking for the most part. But what happens is that when you are not clear on what's happening personally with you, inside your body, inside your mind, within the society, if you're not taught the system, and then you don't think about it, and then you don't go through the process thoughtfully, then these problems occur. So, what is identity crisis as we define it? So Webster's dictionary defines, so it's a period of confusion. It's a period of not knowing who you are and where you belong and which box you fit into. Right? Like you get into your 20s and you're told, okay, bas ab, responsible ho jao. Learn to live your life properly, or ye kaam shuru kar do, or ye shuru kar do, and you need to पढ़ाई भी तो खत्म क्यों नहीं हुई और सारी चीजें अभी तक क्यों नहीं हुई अब तो तुम शादी हो जानी चाहिए थी कोई लड़की क्यों नहीं पसंद आती कोई लड़का क्यों नहीं पसंद आता है like a million different things. Let me know if you can't hear me because I think this keeps getting covered by my scarf. And so we don't know at that point what we need or what we want to do because we're being thrown a million different things in our direction. Right? So hamari wants get left to a side. Now, it's not even about our wants. Because वो तो एक तरफ है ना कि हमारी wants क्या है हम यहाँ पे we're talking about कि हमें करना क्या चाहिए अगर हम wants को भी एक side पे कर दें क्योंकि forget what we want. What is the right path to take? How does it actually work? Okay, so I'm supposed to be done with my education at 25. That's the way to go. Does that define me? My education? And then, okay, now I'm a professional. Does that define me? Do I want to get married? Do I not want to get married? Is my definition in a family? Is my role as a husband, as a wife, as a parent, does that define me? So there's where the confusion is, right? That's where everything just kind of goes haywire, right? Everybody is just, and I remember going through that myself. And I remember going, thinking, okay, I'm not ready. Because when we're told, कि अब major pick करो नहीं अब ये, and then when हम करते हैं major pick किया, decide किया ये करना है, and then we're changing our minds कि नहीं इस तरह नहीं करना, नहीं ये वाला नहीं करना, ये elective नहीं ये वो नहीं करना. So we're being told you're indecisive. फिर वहीं से identity बनना शुरू हो जाती है ना. The indecisive, not focused person. Even though that's not who we are. So then we don't know who we are anymore. And that's where the confusion, the anxiety, the uncertainty, the I don't know, I don't believe in myself anymore comes out. Right? That's what starts to happen. If you guys have any comments at any point or any questions, please just go ahead. And if you can't hear me, let me know. So here's the interesting part, which will explain all of this. कि हमसे जिस टाइम पे कहा जाता है, कहीं पे भी, America or Pakistan or any part of the West, any part of the East, anywhere in the world, you start deciding your life, whether it's education, whether it's your marital life, and anything in your life. जब decisions हमसे कहा जाता है कि start making them, उस वक्त our brain is not fully developed. We're not ready for those decisions. That's why this crisis, this identity failed, this confusion starts to happen. The prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that makes decisions, that controls impulses, that has all of that takes responsibility and all of those things, that's not developed until almost 30 years old. So at 18, 19, we're telling them, decide your entire future in terms of school. Decide what you're going to do for the rest of your life. आप अपना major declare कर दो, अपना decide कर लो कि क्या लेना है, क्या करना है. And then that's it. Can you imagine the burden you're putting on this child who is an adolescent? So obviously he's going to have issues with his or her mental health. Obviously, this is a huge problem, and not just our society, but every society all over. And I don't know why our education system is designed this way. कि हम इतनी young age में इतना बड़ा decision young adults पे डाल देते हैं. So if we're asking ourselves this question in our 20s and 30s, it is a very valid question, because the society is asking us, okay, इस age में, and by the time your brain is fully developed, you should have all this done, while you're still not even capable of doing all this. Not to say that you're not intelligent enough, or not smart enough, or not able to do any of that. But naturally, your brain is still in the process of getting there. And this is not to say कि आप पढ़ाई नहीं करें, या आप settle down होने की कोशिश नहीं करें, या आप jobs नहीं करें. But give yourself time. Give yourself time and understand that you're still in that phase, that you still you're not an adult yet. And it's okay if you can't adult as young people say. So let's just go over what our minds are doing, our brains are doing at different stages. And we have spoken about puberty, so that can be, you can refer back to that talk. First stage is childhood, which is birth to 9 years. That's really early stage. Brain is still kind of trying to figure out what it's supposed to be doing. It's, early development, and we know what's happening there. We're not going to waste time on that. Adolescence. Then adolescence lasts from 9 years to 30 to 32 years. So your teenage basically is expanding up until that age. Now, you're not going to stay a teenager, 18, 19-year-old. Of course, you're going to grow. You're going to learn. You're going to have experiences, and you're going to keep learning and growing. And as your life changes, your life phases change, you'll learn more and more. Then you go through the rest of the stages. Then there's adulthood, which is from either 30, 32 to 66. मतलब 60s के around, of course, exact age हम नहीं कह सकते किसी की भी. And then early aging होती है 66 से 80s में, मतलब mid 60s से mid 80s में, and then late aging 80s में जाके होती है. Now, what is your brain doing in these times? And we'll look at some research also. So childhood में तो brain is just kind of networking, in the sense it's actually putting itself together. Wiring शुरू हो रही है, right? Well, we know what happens in that. You're learning to walk and talk and make connections. This person is a stranger, this person is not, getting to know people, all those things. Now, adolescence की जो brain है, that is what grows into your adult brain, right? उसमें ज़्यादातर आपकी एज, ज़्यादातर नहीं, but most of your age, your brain उसमें गुजरती है. और उसके process में the world and us included, हम ये decision ले लेते हैं कि this person is worth something or worth nothing. और वहां पे identity crisis आ जाता है. Do you see what I'm saying? अब देखो, somebody is 20 years old, और हमने उन्हें कह दिया कि अब 2 साल में तुमने पढ़ाई खत्म करनी है, बैचलर्स करना है, जो भी है 2 साल में, 3 साल में, and then you get a job. Their brain is not fully developed. They are not ready for the real world. The brain की chemistry is still, इस stage पे क्या हो रहा है brain में? They're not a teenager anymore, right? So adolescence की उससे वो निकल गए. दुनिया के हिसाब से they're out of that adolescence window. But they're not from their brain's perspective. They may be a very intelligent and a very mature person, but their brain key wiring, what happens at that time in your brain is that it's connecting, but it's not connecting the long-term complete brain from everything, from everywhere. It's connecting like short wires with each other. So you are not ready for that. And then in 2 years or 3 years, when you're done with your degree, you're still not sure about yourself. You still can't go out there and do what you're told without any support. In terms of, you can't go out there and do it on your own, then you feel like a failure. Because you still don't have those connections. Your entire brain is not connected to each other like it would be when you turn 30 or 31 or 32 or turn 40 or whatever, when you're a complete adult. You still need support. You still need help. But the world tells you, You're done with your education. You're 25. Go out there. Do it on your own. You can. Or you should be. And that causes that anxiety, that sense of, I cannot do anything. It's not anyone else. It's me. I am failing at life. So, I'm gonna need my glasses to read this. There's a study. Okay, wait. My children. Seriously, just okay. So there's a study at University of Cambridge. Neural efficiency is, as you might imagine, is well connected by short paths during this period. Like it's connected by short paths. It's not fully connected everything with every part of your system. So its efficiency is increasing. Its efficiency is getting better and better, but it's only well connected within short paths. You understand shorter concepts, easier concepts, and of course, we're talking about the brain. So when we say shorter and easier concepts, it's still quite complicated. So this is not to say that you're stupid at the age of 25. This is just to say that you still have a lot of maturing to do, right? So this is all now we're stepping into a study from Cambridge University that we're taking this information from. And then we're going to go into another study from another university. So so this is what's happening to you 20 or 30-year-olds, that you are not failing at anything. You are not messing up in your life. It's not about that you haven't done well enough. It's just you have so much more to do. We are thinking of 30-year-olds in our communities, in our culture, societies, of 30-year-olds, fully grown adults who should have made it in life. But if you study the brain, this is the starting point. Yeah, you should have experienced things. You should have gotten started. You should have been studying and doing things. But this is not the point. 30 years old is not the point where you make it. Where you're, oh my God, I'm 25 and I've barely gotten done studying. No. This is where you're experimenting. This is where you're learning new things. You're not done being an adult. You haven't even started being an adult. So the third stage of life is adulthood, which starts at 30, 35. So this is the longest era of your life, or for your brain. So this is where the architecture of the brain stabilizes, right? You're completely yourself. Your brain has connected all of its wiring to each other. No area is like cut off or disconnected or not communicating with one another, because when you're in your adolescence period of time, there are disconnections. Your intellect has plateaued, your personality has plateaued, your confidence, so whoever you're going to be as a person, your character has plateaued. Plateaued doesn't mean that you cannot better yourself, or you cannot improve on who you are. It just means that who you are in your brain is complete. Now you can refine it. You can keep moving forward. Of course, you learn, you evolve. Humans are ever evolving, right? And then you can also compare yourself, not compare yourself in terms of who's better and who's not, but to society, and see what you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to live in terms of other people, whichever society you live in, right? And then late adulthood is basically a reorganization of your life. So if you've done all these things and you have become an adult in your 60s, then you're going to reorganize your life, and you've been up at the height of your life. And then you're going to come down and say, okay, I've done all these things. Now, do I keep going this way? I want to change something? Do I want to, move around, change this system? कैसे रहना है? But then also there's degeneration in that in that phase of life where white matter is जो दिमाग में that transmits information, and then gray matter is जो process करता है information को. The white matter थोड़ा कम होने शुरू जाता है if you don't have any illness, if you don't have any problems. तो उसकी वजह से फिर of course जो degeneration हो रही होती है, then that changes the way you live and the way you pursue whatever you want to pursue with the rest of your life. Now, keeping all of this in mind, we have to also look at, now you have a full picture. Now you guys have a full picture of your life in front of you. Those of you who are in your 20s and 30s, now you have to also look at what is bothering you about your life. Because now we know. You don't have to tell me. You don't have to tell me. But now you know how brain works. Those of you who are in your 20s, especially, you're not having an identity crisis. You're not having a problem with who you are because you still have time to figure out who you are. We haven't decided who you are yet. I mean, the society even hasn't decided yet. Because unless your brain is ready, your brain is fully developed, we don't know who you are. Because what you do and how you do it and how you respond to it changes by the month, by the minute, by the week. So for you to judge yourselves so harshly, and that's because the world is trained that way, right? The world has trained you. The world has trained everybody around you that way. So you have learned to respond to it that way. So then when you turn 30 or 35, then the world expects you to be ready to go out there and be ready with like a career where you're making 6 figures and have 5 children, and one of them is probably getting married. How do you have that? How do you have all of that ready when you have been so unsure of yourself? When you weren't even supposed to be an adult until you were 30. And if you do achieve all of that, good on you if you have achieved all of that. But then you have to also remember that all of that is going to come with a lot of pressure and a lot of unhappiness because you were never sure of who you were. So another study in the American Psychological Association, so this is, they took, what I like about this study is that they took samples from all over the world, Western world and the Eastern world, Malaysia, and some from Africa, and just all over the world. So first, obviously, they related the differences, which were like, obviously in the Western world, there was more respect for privacy. Children were able to make their decisions more independently, and they are more of a individualistic society, and such things. For us in Eastern society, we facilitate, according to your study as well, we facilitate decision making. And of course, it goes the other way, where decisions are forced. And then the idea is that, well, you don't know anything. You're a kid. We'll make decisions for you. And then that's, then there's that balance that gets lost many, many times, that if your child is a child, then don't make that decision for them. Wait for them to be able to make the decision. But many times there is kya wait kare. Decisions have to be made sometimes. So, then they found in the study that many times in Eastern cultures, parents facilitate the children in making decisions, which benefits and is very helpful. The whole balance, say, if you can create that balance, then that is a very positive thing. And then they found that religion plays a big role, and most of the time, 69% actually, 69% of the time, religion plays a positive role. When you have faith and you have something to believe in, you have a community, it always makes you happier. It makes you more connected, and it just gives you a positive environment. Also, creates a culture of shame, which we all know about really, really well. That is a clear and present danger for all of us. And again, जो identity crisis के साथ जो issues आते हैं, the kind of guilt and the kind of anxiety that it creates, that comes, naturally comes from a lot of the shame. Hey, अभी तक ये नहीं किया और सिलसिला ने ये कर लिया था, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough. वो सब वहीं से आते हैं. So these are the big things. जो studies say were discovered. This is a really long study, and I don't really want to go over all of it. But these were the conclusions जो हमारे part of the world that were discovered. And basically, this study was in terms of to find out more about the quarter life crisis, which is the identity crisis in your 20s and 30s. And the interesting thing about this is that this has been discovered just recently. There was a book. What's the book called? It's actually the name of the book, but I don't think I wrote it. I'd read the book a while back. Maybe it's in my computer. There was a book written about it, and it was actually a really interesting book, which talks about this particular issue. It was written in the 90s, but at that time, this term didn't pick up. Like, quarter life crisis didn't really make sense to anybody, because the way this and our generation, where our parents raised us, and then our generation was raised, this did not make any sense. Because not that it didn't exist, or that we weren't rushed into doing everything quicker and faster, and were told कि बस अभी ये कर लो, अभी ये कर लो, अभी कर लो, क्या बच्ची तो नहीं हो, बस बड़ी हो गए हो तुम, और ये हो गया. But like, there was a sense of urgency in everything. Like now, we are kind of giving our children that option. Okay, it's okay, take your time. This doesn't suit you, try something different. Now that's happening. But it's interesting that we may have had those anxieties. We may have had that I'm a failure and I'm not good enough type of issues. But right now, even though these children, I mean, not children, you guys, children to us, you as young adults have more lenient parents, but are having more issues wanting to prove yourself to the world and to your families. Now, that is something that needs to be looked at, because जब उस वक्त ये बातें की जा रही थी और सामने आ रही थी, there was a very of course mental health पे इतनी बात नहीं होती थी उस वक्त, but there was a very few percentage के हिसाब से, very few of of us that worried about it. We were conditioned, we were trained to just, yeah, we're going to grow up and we're going to work and then go to school and then we're going to, that's it. I mean, grow up, go to school, work, and then, that's it, live our lives. So that was not anxiety causing to us. It was a plan that was made and we knew what we were doing. Now I feel like the more options that are available, and it's not a bad thing. It's absolutely not a bad thing. We didn't have that many options. Options were taken away from us. And that's not a good thing, right? We should always give more and more and then let children and adults and people make their own choices. But here's where the crisis comes in, which in a quarter life crisis, when you cannot make a decision and you cannot decide what to do with your life, is, believe it or not, is called misdevelopment, because you're not able to have your brain connect different dots or connect wires. I thought it was interesting. That's a psychological term. I don't know who came up with it. It wasn't to me. So what I find interesting about that, and the reason I mention it here, is that we do have more options now, and young adults are open to choose those options. There's less. So what's happening is I'm trying to say it in the least offensive way, but I don't think I'll be able to. Not offensive to you guys. What I'm trying to say is there are more options. There are more options in what you can do in school, what you can do at work, what you can do socially, what kind of friends you can make, what kind of situations you can put yourself in. But there is less guidance. You cannot go to your parents or your grandparents for help, for support, because we are from a different world. Not to say that we don't want to help or we don't care, but it is difficult for us to understand this world. We can learn, but it is a different world. It is a completely different world. आजकल जो चीजें, with all the technology, and it's not bad. Again, it's not bad with the technology, with the kind of innovative things that are out there. We need a lot of research and a lot of information and a lot of learning to be able to help the 20 and 30-year-olds in their problems, in their dilemmas, and to help them through these identity issues, these work crises, education crises, and all of those things. So what ends up happening is कि जब हमसे ये नहीं हो पाता, हमें समझ नहीं आती कि ये हो क्या रहा है और ये किस चीज का प्रॉब्लम है और ये क्यों कंप्लेन हो रही है, so we just chalk it up to these kids just being troublemakers, or हमने भी तो किया, हमें तो ये इश्यूज नहीं हुए, और हमें वाकई नहीं हुए. We didn't have this kind of support either, and we didn't complain, but the problem was that we knew not to deviate. हमने अपने बच्चों को, अपने younger siblings को, cousins को, बच्चों को ये option दी है कि you can deviate, explore options, go in new directions, do all those things. But then, as it says, even in the studies, के हमारे Eastern culture में, there is more support for kids who want to explore different things. And they do these things with the kids' support. But at the same time, there is a kind of shame and there is a kind of neglect and backlash at wanting support and doing new things and innovative things, because here वो हम पे आती है ना बात, because we have to go the extra mile in looking into this and finding ways in helping them do this in the correct way, especially for girls, for women in our community. Because लड़कों पे तो इतना कोई देखता नहीं है, देखना चाहिए भी नहीं, देखता तो नहीं देखता, लड़कों पे ज्यादा देखा जाता है, तो फिर वो इशू लड़कियों के लिए ज्यादा आ जाता है कि what do I do with my life? Who am I? What is my role? Where do I fit in this society, in this culture? Where do I fit in? So first of all, the important thing is that you're still developing, you're still finding out who you are. Let it happen. Let yourself explore more of yourself. Let it happen to yourself. And the first thing you want to have to do is, learn about yourself. This is not a crisis that you're going through. This is you learning about yourself. पहले तो हमें ये awareness होनी चाहिए. I mean, to expect, like I said, to expect from us adults, to expect from our parents, to expect from older siblings or whoever else, that our guardians and whoever else, is a lot. अगर हो जाए तो wonderful, but to expect that is, bit much. But know yourself. Understand yourself. Maybe study the brain a little bit so you know where you are in the scheme of all of that, in the scheme of your brain, right? So start there. And then like we mentioned earlier, that faith community, it doesn't have to be the same faith as okay, don't quote me on this, but it doesn't have to be the same faith as your parents or as, whoever else, but believe in something. Tie yourself down to a community, because that helps. There's like studies after the study that American Psychological Association, study, this was like 113 different countries, and then there were thousands of different papers. They did, a whole thing together, and they found 96% of people who were involved in communities and faith-based activities were happier, and their identity crisis was lessened because of it. So that, please, and then their lifespan is longer, and whatever life that they live is happier if you're involved in this kind of thing. And this is not the only study. This was about quarter life crisis, but we've talked about it in many different types of conversations and studies. It comes up again and again. And then there's again, it's only a crisis if you don't know yourself. The confusion is, where do I fit in? What is my role? What is, there's also this physical role, and then there's emotional role. So emotionally, where do you fit in? Right? And that's going to be your answer. Again, learn about yourself, not just about your brain, but about yourself. Yeah. Block everybody else out. Don't look for answers outside. Of course, you will get answers from outside. The role is whatever role you play, whether it's in the family, whether it's in the society, whether it's a gender role, or it's a family, sister, mother, wife, daughter, it will be connected to your emotions, definitely. But first, find out who you are on the inside and what role you identify with. And then bring it out with confidence. And this is a longer discussion, so we'll have it some other time. But learning about yourself is going to be the most important thing. So you're going to learn about how your brain works as a woman, because male and female brain works differently. Then you're going to learn about what your personality, what things do you like, what things do you don't like. Don't worry about what other people will like about you, what other people will dislike about you. Just what do you like? What do you not like? And then talk about others, your role as a mother, as a wife, as a sister, as a student, as a, whatever work you do as a professional. And then gradually try to see how you can fit that within you without having yourself break, without having yourself, without diminishing yourself. And that's doable. But you have to understand that right now, if you're a 25-year-old or 27-year-old, right now, you don't have to be everything to everybody. That's the understanding that you have to have. That you don't have to be right now everything to everybody. It's okay to miss a few things. So adjust your attitude, adjust your surroundings, replace them with a better attitude about yourself. I'm capable, but I don't have to do everything for everybody. Replace that with this attitude that I don't have to, and I will pick and choose what works for me right now. Of course, be kind about it. Be careful to not miss the important things, the things that really matter in life. And then decide how you're going to proceed with it. Just because somebody is telling you that this is how it has to be in your life, it doesn't have to be that way. So these are the decisions that you're going to make. See, uncertainty in life creates anxiety, and you cannot eliminate uncertainty. What you can eliminate is what is important to you and what is not important to you. So you can make that list of priorities, and then you can see what doesn't come in that priority for that time being, like for 6 months or a year. And then you can adjust what the replaced list, you can adjust it and, limit your anxiety according to that. Because you can't fit everybody's demands and everybody's requests. And I know it sounds easy when I say it, but of course it's a matter of practice. It's a matter of trying again and again. And it's a matter of keeping up with it. Look for a group, and I say this after every talk. Find a group of people that you can relate to, that can be your support system, that understand what you're going through. And because that's going to be key. You cannot survive without that. You cannot survive without that. Everybody needs that. Nobody can do anything alone. Nobody can do anything alone. You may be a very strong person, but everybody needs something. Someone. By something, I mean a group, an online group, a physical group, somebody you can go meet, people you can get together with. But you need to have that. You can't be by yourself, and you can't fight the entire system, because this is a system that's built in, that's set up to basically, honestly, for all of us to fail. Right? Because when you have that mindset in your 20s that I should have been something by now, when you're not supposed to be anything by 30 or 35, then you're set up to fail. And even if you make it and you're a great, success by 35, you're still thinking it came late. So I could have been better. So you really need a huge, huge support system to get rid of that mindset. And change other people's mindsets. Once you're self-aware, once you understand who you really are, then the best thing you can do is change other people's mindsets. Make them believe, look, I'm not supposed to be this person. I wasn't supposed to get everything right by this time. First of all, you're not supposed to get anything right by any age. But this age is not the age to get everything right. So I'm perfect for my age and for my time period. So this is how it's supposed to be. Convince other people, make them believe in you. But that's only going to happen if you believe in you, right? So start there. Start by believing in yourself. And then when you believe in yourself, people will automatically start to believe in yourself. I could give you tips and tricks on how to, get rid of your anxiety and how to get rid of your, how to be better at your roles and all of that. But that is not really the point. The point is for you to understand that this is not, your anxiety and your confusion in your roles and your confusion in your emotional and identity and your confusion in who you're supposed to be and your confusion and your um, emotional chaos and why you're not where you're supposed to be. All of it is coming is rooted in the fact that you think you should be ready when you're not supposed to be ready. And you think you should be something at this age when you're not supposed to be. So you're wanting an identity that you shouldn't have. You're wanting something that you don't need to be struggling for. And again, that the book that I was talking about, in that book, the author says 2 ways adults approach maturity. Either they will be hopeful about the future, or they will struggle to realize it. So you can keep going about it and struggling and, fight with this anxiety and just keep trying to prove yourself to the world, prove something that can't happen. Or you can look to the future and just say, look, within my capacity, I'm going to do what I can. But I know that I'm capable of growing and learning and realizing. And of course, with age, you're going to learn, you're going to become that person that you're supposed to. You will evolve, you will be good at what you're supposed to be good at. You will grow emotionally. You will, you will grow in intellect as well. As all of you are. Of course, you're not stagnant, you're growing, you're learning. And the biggest example that we have is the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He got prophethood at the age of 40. And that tells us a lot. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was following him throughout his entire life. He was cleansed at the age of 6. His entire life before he became the prophet, it's in front of us. He was the most pure and pious person that could have ever existed. He was looking for the truth. He was looking for something to believe in, but he wasn't given prophethood until he was 40 years old. So there is a purpose, right, for that age. There is a scientific and spiritual purpose because you have to go through the development of your brain and come to that maturity. You have to have all those experiences. You have to learn certain things in your life and grow up to a certain degree to be mature enough to handle certain things in your life. So don't sell yourselves short. And just because you guys feel or the society is making you feel a certain way doesn't mean this is real. Because this whole system, our entire education system, our entire workplace system, honestly, is just crazy, insane, rigged, if you ask me. I would throw out this whole school system. This is my own my own personal opinion, I would throw out the whole school system. Maybe keep it until like ninth, 10th grade, like basic, learning. After that, if you want to, be a part of a profession, you just go learn the profession. If you've learned how to read and write, after that, you don't need all of this because life is your classroom. Because this is what happens. You get stuck in books, you get stuck in who's getting what grade and who's doing what, and then you don't really learn the skill that the person needs to grow. That's a different discussion. I hope this was helpful, and I hope made some of you feel better. If you guys have any questions, any concerns, you're welcome to DM me for details, and any of you wants to talk one-on-one, we're available for that as well. And also, I wanted to remind you guys, we have our course coming up, now next, in February. I don't know. It's almost January, so it's coming up in February. I will be the instructor for the communication course.